Welcome to the Medium in the Middle podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie, the Medium in the Middle. On this podcast, I share my journey as a developing psychic medium, as a Reiki master teacher, as an Akashic record practitioner, and anything else that's thrown my way. Hello, Middlers! Welcome to episode 162. If you are a new listener, hello, my name is Stephanie. I am the Medium in the Middle, and I tell my entire development story, how I realized I could speak to spirit, when I started taking Reiki, and everything that's been added in between from episode 1. So if you're interested in my entire journey, I would recommend starting back from episode 1, or welcome to the party, jumping right in at episode 162. I do highly recommend the first 10 episodes. They are the biggest, whoa episodes that people really relate to know that you're not alone on your spiritual journey. But welcome to episode 162. So I mentioned this in last week's episode, but I've been having this conversation a lot with my mentees, and I wanted to bring it to the podcast. So it's actually going to be a few different topics all wrapped into one. So number 1, around pricing yourself. How to price yourself, what to consider. Number 2, have you ever wondered to yourself why mediumship readings are so expensive? I want to talk about that. And just getting around understanding pricing and pricing per hour, and when you start to move to that. I've had some really good conversations. So hopefully this is helpful if you own a business, or if you don't, you just want to understand why do we charge so much for this stuff. Hopefully this gives you a little bit of understanding into that as well. So I'm not going to pull a card this week. I'm not feeling very inspired to do so, and I don't like to force it. So no card for this week's episode. And just for my announcements are just my updates every week of what I have to tell you, of what's going on in my world and my offerings. So currently all Reiki courses are sold out. The May Reiki courses will be launching later this week. So you can keep an eye out for that on my website or on Instagram. The Mastermind starts tonight, so the doors for that program are now closed, and the people inside that container, I'll be working with them for the next 6 months to grow their business. I am so excited about that. The one-on-one mentorship program that I offer is reopening this week. Currently, the waitlist has it first, but if you've been looking for a mentor in the spiritual realm, or if you've been wanting to work on me on a one-to-one basis, so you don't have to have a business for this one. This is where I work with you every other week for 3 months. And we develop in Reiki, mediumship, business. Those are my wheelhouse. That's where I love to work. The applications will be open on Thursday of this week. That is March 2nd. For the next round of mentees in the middle, that starts in April. We are currently full. And then I start it again every 3 months. I will leave the link for mentees in the middle down below if you are looking for a one-on-one mentor in the spiritual realm. And the last very exciting announcement is the Reiki Level 2 Advanced course that's coming up. It is being held live on Saturday, March 18th from 1:30 to, I put 3:30, but I know it's going to be longer than 2 hours. Don't worry, you'll get the recording. So if you can't attend live or if you have to leave, everyone will get that. This course is for after Reiki Level 2. After Reiki Level 2, if you want some more, we're going to be diving deep into energy, client experience, understanding all of the things that we learn in Level 2 at a little bit deeper level, and sharing with you all the things I've learned while working in Reiki for the past few years. So if you're ready for more after your Reiki Level 2, it's recommended between 3 to 6 months after you take your Level 2. The Reiki Advanced Practitioner course is March 18th. I'm so excited. I'll leave the link down below to sign up for that as well. If you can't make it live, the recording is available for everybody. And that is my announcements for this week. It is Courses Bonanza. That's my wheelhouse. When I was younger, and if you asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, I would have told you a teacher. So now I teach adults, and I really, really, really enjoy teaching adults. So it's my passion, and I'm so happy to have so many ways to share that with you. Let's jump into this week's episode and start with what kind of made this conversation happen. So I was speaking with one of my mentees, and part of her homework was to figure out how much she wanted to charge per hour for each different service. And when she came back to me, she was like, so, I was doing the math, figuring like if I need to replace my full-time income plus, all the things on the side, I have to at least charge $150 an hour. And she was kind of surprised by this. And I was like, yep. And then we had a really good discussion about it. So I wanted to share that with you. Before we get into that part, I want to discuss why are mediumship readings so expensive. If you go to a professional reader, they can be anywhere from $300, $400, $500 for a 45-minute reading, for an hour reading. Group readings can be $1,000. And if you ever thought to yourself, why? So I was speaking with my mentee and I said, okay, let's talk specifically about mediumship. How many readings do you think a medium does a day? 1 or 2, maybe some do 3. But you do about, say, 2 or 3 readings a day. So if this is your full-time job, you have to make a full-time job's income in 3 readings a day. So that means if you would normally be making whatever amount of money you want to make, you have 3 opportunities a day to make that. You're not working an 8-hour day. Energetically, you can't do that. So you're basing your income off of the 3 hours you can do a day sitting in mediumship. I'm not going to say 3 hours of work because there's so much work outside of just that 3 hours, but that is your income making time. So let's consider you have 3 readings a day. What are you doing? Are the readings from, 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock? You open on your Zoom, you close your Zoom at 3 o'clock and bam, you're done? Absolutely not. So from even before your reading begins, you are probably meditating. You probably had to take it easy that morning. Probably had to make sure you ate and slept and drank enough. Probably had to make sure your space was clean. The night before, you had to make sure you got enough sleep. You probably had to make sure you weren't out late the night before. You probably weren't drinking the night before. So from the day before, at probably whenever you finish your workday, you're starting to think about the next day's work. So although you're not just sitting there for the 1 hour, there's prep involved. And I'll use an Akashic record reading again as an example, because for an Akashic record reading, they're my most expensive offering, because for that 45-minute reading, you're not only paying for my experience and my courses and every time that I've been in the Akashic records, all of that, yada, yada, yada. We know that. But you're paying for 24 hours I've been sober for you. So if I have one reading tomorrow, that means tonight if I get asked to go for dinner with my friends, nope, I can't have a glass of wine. I have to be very mindful of what I'm doing tonight. I have to get to bed early. I have to wake up, make sure my space is clean, make sure I'm energetically okay, make sure that I've eaten, make sure that I'm rested, make sure that my energy can hold space for other people. All of that takes a lot of time. So yes, I'm only in front of you in the camera for 45 minutes, but I've been preparing for that meeting for the past 24 hours for you. And I think as we move into employee to that CEO mindset, you're not thinking about all of that. And that's what the $200, $300, $400 an hour is charging for. Because I've been working for you for the last 24 hours. I've been preparing my energy. I've been making sure that I can do my job properly. I'm making sure that I show up here and I feel good. And to make sure I feel good, I have to eat good food. I have to eat whole, nutritious, good food. So I probably have to make my meals at home. I have to make sure my space is cleared. Energetically and physically, I need a clean space. I have to make sure I rested well, so everything I need for rest already has to be there. Do I have a good bed? Do I have what I need to sleep at night? I have to make sure that I ate and drank properly. Do I have to work out to maintain my energy? All of these things are so that I can energetically show up for that hour reading to deliver the best mediumship or whatever kind of spiritual reading you're doing. And when she was saying, I'd have to at least charge $150 to just make what I'm making now. It's like, yes, it's not like someone's just paying you $30, $40, $50 an hour to go into work for 8 hours a day and do whatever they tell you to do. Now you are everything. So the second part of this conversation was, so not only are you preparing for that hour mediumship reading, and say for the 24 hours leading up to it, you're preparing. So if you have a reading on Saturday, from Friday afternoon, you're preparing for Saturday readings. Let's just put all of that aside and let's talk about the business side of things. So do you have a website? Yeah, you probably have a website and you probably have a booking system. Those things both cost money. thousands of dollars. Those things cost thousands of dollars. If you didn't know, also monthly, those things cost money. I was like, and you either set up your website or your booking link. I was like, what about your Instagram? You probably post about that. That costs money and time. Then we're going to go into all the courses and all the prep and all the work you did do for free before you got to how good you are now. I'm like, look at you. You're taking a mentorship program to make sure that by the time you're offering this service, you are the best you could possibly be. And then we have insurance and we have internet and we have the computer that you're on. And then we also have all the other business expenses that come along with it and all the time that you are doing investing in the business. So who's putting up your schedule? Who's marketing for you? Who is doing all the advertising? Who is doing all your back end work? Who's doing your books at the end of the month? Who's making sure that next week, next month, next year you have work? You are everything. So when you're coming to book a reading with me, all of that is included. But I do really find that it's a mindset shift, because when you go from working with somebody else, when you do all those things, you are paid for it by hour. If I'm working 8 hours and I go to work at 9 and I leave at 5 and I'm doing all those things, someone is paying me at 9 and 10 and 11 and 12 and 1 and 2. I'm making my hourly wage. But when you are doing readings and your hourly wage comes from 2 or 3 hours of in front of client work, that wage has to cover all of the work you've been doing from the morning, yesterday, all the prep to get to how it is, the easy way that you just go on my website, click a button and book the reading. All of those things took work or people who were paid to do it. So it really gets you kind of thinking about how to price yourself, how to charge for the services that you're offering, and also why these things cost money. Now, this isn't to say that, $100 mediumship reading isn't good or you're getting less. I would say that those people are probably undercharging for their time, and they probably have not figured out the value of what they're offering and the time that they have invested into it. So this also isn't to say that a $600 reading is better than a $100 reading. So since we're on the topic of charging for time and thinking about that as a new business owner, or when you're trying to think of what you should be charging, you also want to think that $100 an hour, $150 an hour, whatever you're considering, is not what's going in your pocket. So yes, I can sit here and say, hey, my Reiki sessions are $95 an hour. That does not mean I make $95 an hour. You maybe end up with about half. So after all my expenses, after all my subscriptions, after I put money aside for tax, after I pay all the bills I have to pay for my business, after I pay rent for my Reiki room and my insurance bill, and after I pay for all of my subscriptions and I pay for my website and I pay my assistant and I pay the person who created my website and I pay for my booking link, that costs money, and I have to pay for Dubsado, that's another hosting thing that costs money. After all those things are paid for, and I use Sage and I wash my laundry and I buy crystals for my office, and after all those things are paid for, you're not making $100 an hour. So I think there's another appeal of like, I could make so much money if I go and do this. Look at these people making $200, $300, $400 an hour. You're also not seeing that they're only working a few hours a day. There also is a lot of back end. There's a lot of requirements for that. It's an interesting conversation when you start to view it as the business owner and not as a client, because a client sees one side of things, but as the business owner, you have to pay attention to all these sides of things. So when you get a paycheck, your tax is automatically taken away from you. When I get paid, I have to manually put 30% into a separate account so I can pay the tax man. So you have to be mindful of that. There's so many things that when you are running your own business are now your responsibility that other people might not even think of. So when you're going from working from somebody else to working to yourself, these are all the perspectives that you have to have and all the things you need to take into consideration when you are trying to figure out, hey, how much should I charge? So now we understand why we're charging all this much money, but then we also have to see what's the competition doing. What's my neighbor doing readings for? Is my neighbor doing readings? Is someone down the street doing readings? How much are they charging? What's the going rate? What are people willing to pay? Because I might decide that, hey, I actually need $600 an hour after you told me all that stuff, but people are only willing to pay $300 an hour. then there's another aspect to it. So there's so many layers into pricing. And I used to just charge for my time. And I thought that was fair for a long time. I was like, you know what? The cost of my hour is $95. That's how it is, Canadian. And I remember thinking, I'm like, if anyone asked me, what do you charge for that? I was like, oh, well, $95 an hour seems fair. So that's what I just say for everything. But it's only been in the last few years of business. I was like, you can't just blanket one price. It depends what I'm doing now, how much it costs. Because it depends the prep. It depends how much work has gone into it. It depends how much work is on the back end of things. So I am still $95 for my 1 hour of Reiki. Why? Because I turn on my Zoom. You're sitting there. I do Distance Reiki, which I can do with my eyes closed, half asleep. I can do Distance Reiki very, very, very easily. I've been doing it for so long. I love it so much, and it is my wheelhouse. I turn on my Zoom link at 2 o'clock. We have Distance Reiki. It is a great time for me. It's a great time for you. At 3 o'clock, I shut off that Zoom link. Bam, done. Mentorship. I've done some vetting to get you into this group. I've had you fill out a form. I've read your form. I've energetically connected to see if I should work with you or not. I've set up a schedule for you. There's a separate schedule for you. There are days booked off that only you can book. Then when we meet, I'm preparing what am I going to talk about? How am I going to organize this for you? We're going to speak for 45 minutes, but then you might have homework. I might be following up with someone. I might be connecting you to someone. There's going to be things that I also have to do after the session. So now I'm working before and after the session of our scheduled time, and to set up this entire process is a lot more, and I'm giving you a lot more of my brain power. I have to think, I have to be present, I have to hold space, I have to really connect energetically to you in a way that is of growth. So that is so much different than my 1 hour of Reiki where I'm cruising in healing land just doing my thing. So those are also things you have to consider. Again, like I said, my Akashic Record readings are the most expensive thing that I offer for my time because you're not paying for 45 minutes, you're paying for 24 hours. I have been sober for you for 24 hours. If my friend's birthday party was tonight, I am not going to my friend's birthday party because I am doing your Akashic Record reading tomorrow. That means that I am missing out on things. That means I need to be compensated for that. So I've had this conversation in a few different ways, and I just think it's a good thing to bring to the podcast because sometimes you're thinking like, why are people charging that much money? Well, this is why. You're not just paying for the 45 minutes, but when you are someone who's always been working for somebody else your whole life, that's how you view it. It's very one-sided. But when you start to step into business owner mode, it's like, holy moly, if I just want to cover my expenses, I'm charging $150 an hour. It's like, yep, you are. And you want to make money? Okay. And you want to make more money than you're making now? Okay. So that's the realities of pricing. Think about that next time you go to book a reading. It's not just the hour that the reader is in front of you. It is all the prep that they've done leading up to that to be able to hold space and do their job properly for that hour. And also all their training and courses and years of experience that you're, of course, paying for. But it is outside. There is so much more than just the 1 hour you are sitting in front of them. And that is why your reading is $200, $300, $400. So I hope that shed some light. Also, if you are starting a business and wondering how to price yourself, I hope this put some things in your ears to consider about, oh yeah, I took a course and my courses cost me thousands of dollars. How am I going to recoup that? Oh yeah, and I've spent hundreds of hours developing and practicing for free or, for not very much money. How am I going to compensate for that? Oh yeah, I have to pay for my business license and my rent and my insurance and my website and my hosting site. Oh yeah, how am I going to compensate for that? All of these things start to come into play. So this isn't to scare you away from starting your own business. I don't want to discourage anybody, but I want you to start to really consider why prices are the way they are when you start to work with small businesses. And I just love talking about this kind of stuff. It's a good, interesting perspective into business. So I hope you enjoyed that conversation. I hope it got you thinking. If you own a business, are your prices reflective of all of that? And are you actually making money? Because you can be charging and still not making money. So something to think about. put your little banker hats on and figure out your numbers. But that's what I have for you this week, Middlers. I hope you enjoyed it. I always love a good money talk. I will leave all the links you need down below if you want to book an appointment with me for Distance Reiki or PSYCH-K. If you want to sign up for the advanced workshop, that will all be linked down below. And like I said, on Thursday, the one-on-one mentorship for mentees in the middle will be opening to the public. The waitlist got it first. If there's any spots left, there should be a few, not many, maybe 2 or 3. They will be opening on Thursday. There will be an email. There will be my Instagram and my website. It's where you book everything. As a reminder, I'm at Medium in the Middle on Instagram. I only have one account. There's a lot of scammers. I will never DM you for a reading. I will never say, hello, love and light. The universe called me to you. That's a scam. Please block and delete those accounts. I'm at Medium in the Middle, spelled with no extra letters anywhere. I will leave that link down below. But until next Wednesday, Middlers, when I see you in your ears, I hope you have a wonderful week. Bye, everybody.